Hi friends, this is Dina and welcome to my new video. In this video, we are of course going to be setting up my April theme in my bullet journal, and I'm really happy you decided to join me here. So I decided to not be that original this month when choosing my theme because I chose butterflies. And I know that, yeah, butterflies are a really popular springtime theme for everyone's bullet journal. But I've actually also done this once before, and that has really inspired me to, go at it again and try it out once more. And it actually kind of became a theme recreation with this one because they look kind of similar, but I would have to argue that this is much better than the first one, and I will show it to you after I've done my cover page. But let's start. So I'm using watercolor for this whole theme. I just thought that maybe that will give me a little bit of that freedom and that messy style that I like to sometimes go for, but I also noticed that I was really trying to be precise, so I guess I didn't really save that much time in the end. Alongside butterflies, I also wanted to paint daisies in this theme, mainly because it just always reminds me of, warmer months, and it's definitely one of my all-time favorite flowers. So yeah, I decided to paint a daisy in this cover page as well, and I'm doing it on the lower left side here. And of course, since daisy petals are usually like pretty white, they wouldn't really pop out of the page, so I ended up mixing some black and brown for the petals here. And as you can see, they are a little bit more warm in tone, and that's definitely something that I tried to go for because I didn't want them to also be kind of this colder tone, because of course the blue butterflies are going to be in a way more cold toned, so I wanted to have a little bit more of warmth in this page and have a little bit more balance in it as well. The petals also might look a little bit too dark at this point, but when I add the orange center for the flower, I swear it will look much lighter in color. I also really tried to darken the root of each petal so that, the shadow would be more in the center, and then the tip of each petal would be much lighter in color and the look would be much more realistic. Once the petals were pretty much done, I mixed this orange color for the middle part of the flower, and I tried to, add this darker color in the edges of it in a shape of, how the real flower would look like. It's really hard to explain like how I'm doing this, but if you look at a daisy photo, you will notice that there's these little kind of almost pokey things coming from the center of the flower, and the center is also a little bit darker in color. So yeah, I tried to, use the photos that I had in my mind. I actually didn't look at a reference photo, but I have painted daisies a lot, so I tried to go with that information that I had, and I think it definitely turned out really good, and it looks pretty realistic too. So I guess even though I don't really know how to explain what I'm doing, it still turned out good. So when the flower was done, I started focusing on the butterflies itself. And this was definitely something that I was a little bit scared about because I have not really painted butterflies that much. And, my cover page is always the page that I show like on the thumbnail and usually share on Instagram too. So I'm always a little bit like nervous about how it's going to turn out, especially when I'm painting something that I normally don't paint that much. But yeah, I think it also turned out really good. The butterflies look pretty much exactly like I was hoping for, or even better, so that's always great. So I'm using a watercolor journal, which really lets me work on the paper and its full potential. So I really used a lot of wet and wet technique for this, which might not work for all journals because I know that many of those normal 160 GSM journals just have this kind of paper that absorbs water really well. But yeah, this works perfectly for this type of technique, and I never had any issues when I was painting. I will have this journal and my 10% off link and code down below as well if you want to check that out. But yeah, what I did with the butterfly wings was that I was first just adding this really light blue color underneath. I also mixed a little bit of purple in it as well so that it kind of, hinted towards that like lavender color. And then I started adding darker turquoise and those kind of purpley shades in the, the center of the butterfly. So kind of like in each wing, that part that is closer to the body of the butterfly. And I tried to really create this smooth gradient from that darker color to the really light tip of each wing. And I really think that made this painting so much better than just having one, solid color or a darker color in the tip of each wing. I think it looks really pretty with this super smooth and contrasty gradient. I also tried to darken some of the areas on the wings, that were underneath another wing. So each of the wings would be distinctive enough so they wouldn't just be a blob of color. And yeah, I think everything turned out really well. I also colored in the body of the butterfly with this dark color. I was kind of using a couple of different reference photos that I could, just mainly use for the shape of the butterfly. So I basically just made this kind of little blob in the center of each butterfly without having to think about it too much. And then I started working on the little pattern on each wing. So as you can see, I made this kind of a little bit thicker, almost like border for each wing. So I made it in this kind of wavy style, just kind of making those little rounded edges for the wings. And I also added veins in each wing. It's kind of hard to explain what I'm doing again, but I feel like you can definitely understand what I'm doing by just watching this video. But yeah, I just made those little super thin veins for each of the wing and just kind of made them spread out. And then from each of those veins, or the tip of those veins, I made that kind of rounded shape to the other vein, if that makes any sense. But yeah, I think this was a really fun process and I really enjoyed working on these wings, and especially that like pattern on it. It was so much fun. I know I'm really early with this, but I feel like May and April are both really hard months to find themes for in your bullet journal. So please, if you have a theme that you would like to see me do, leave that in the comments and I will see if I can find some inspiration from your ideas. I always struggle with May, especially because it's kind of one of those months where it's almost summer, but you don't really know if you should go for full summer vibes or should you go for something else. So yeah, if you have a great idea and you've wanted to see me set up a specific theme, please give me some recommendations. Thank you. But when I was done with the butterflies itself, I started focusing on the other elements in this page, and I wanted to add this kind of colder tone craft paper. And I used a tracing paper to, trace the shape of the butterfly to the page so that there would be this cutout. And I think it actually turned out really nice. And I think that was a great idea. And I think this worked a lot better than if I would have just had to paint those butterflies on top on an extra piece of paper. So yeah, I also really tried to focus on the color scheme and the temperature of colors in this whole spread. So when the flower itself is a little bit more warm in tone, there's the butterflies and then the colder toned craft paper that are kind of more in the colder end of temperature in color, and I think that really worked well together. And I feel like if I would have chosen a normal, like more brown and almost yellowish craft paper, I think this would have turned out looking a little bit more muddy. I also stamped the April header on the top left side of this page, and yeah, I really like how it turned out as well. It made this whole spread kind of look more elegant, I think, because the letters are so thin and kind of made in this really, elegant serif font. So yeah, I really like that as well. And then I also went with my Kuretake metallic watercolor set, and I chose the blue gold because again, the temperature was a little bit cooler, so I think it worked well with this page. And with that, I made these tiny little sparkles around my page. I guess sparkles are now my thing as well. They definitely weren't before, but I feel like I am gravitating towards them and they definitely fit with so many themes, so why not? When I was done with my cover page, I focused on the page on the left side, which is my one-page calendar. So for this page, I wanted to do something super simple, and I just glued a piece of this old book page print on the bottom of the page, and then I glued with the same craft paper that I used in the cover page. I made this little calendar grid and just wrote the days of the week and the dates on top. So a few months ago when I needed this book page print in my setup, I actually printed both in color and in black and white, and the color is a little bit more yellowish and the black and white is just black and white, of course. And I've never really used the black and white version, but I felt like in this one, again, it really worked with the color scheme, so I went with that. I will have that book page website where you can just print it. I think it's like a copyright free thing you can just print and use anywhere, so I will have it linked in the description if you want to check that out and print it for yourself. But yeah, now the calendar itself is done, and so is the whole spread. I really love how it turned out. And here is a little comparison between my 2021 April theme and this one, and please tell me you like this one more. No, I think both of them are fine, but I definitely prefer the newer one. But now we are going to be setting up my tracker and playlist spread, and I will again start by painting something in the spread, and we're starting with some butterflies. I wasn't completely sure about this layout yet because I was planning on adding a flower on the bottom of the left page, but I actually ended up changing its location a little bit in the end. I was definitely surprised about how long this painting process took because I had chosen a theme that was supposed to be pretty fast and quick, but I actually ended up spending like the whole day on that first spread, and then I was just like super tired, and I tried to really simplify it when I was starting to work on my second spread, but I still ended up kind of making it a little bit more complicated, and I added the flower in the right side anyway, so I don't think I really simplified it that much, but I really like how this turned out. Again, I was just a little bit surprised about how long this painting process took me, but usually when I paint something new that I haven't painted in a little while, I always, it takes a little bit more time for me to work on it and, get used to painting that specific subject. But again, I was doing the same thing with the butterflies. I was looking at reference photos of different kinds of butterflies just so I could get like different positions for them right. But I was mainly focusing on those pictures that you can just see the whole butterfly from the back, I guess, just like the wings are spread out. But I also wanted to add one that was kind of pictured from the side with its wings kind of more closed. I don't know if this is like a specific butterfly that I'm drawing. I feel like it's kind of unrealistic with its like those patterns that I made, but I think it's fine. I don't usually like to work with a really strict reference, having to make something that actually looks super realistic, but I definitely had a lot of fun with this, whether it's a real butterfly or not. It definitely looks like the butterfly emoji though. By the way, all of my other used products as well, such as my watercolors and the golden watercolors and my pens that I used in this setup, they are all linked down below if you want to check them out. I will also have all of my discount codes and other things like that linked as well, so definitely go check that out if you want to, see what I'm using in this whole setup. By the way, just a little heads up, I have a couple of videos coming in the month of April. I'm planning on finishing my sketchbook, so I'm going to be making a couple of videos about that, and I might also post something else. So if you like this video and you would also like to see those videos that are coming in the month of April, please make sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and if you want to be notified about my future videos, also click the bell icon next to the subscribe button so you will get a notification of all of my future videos. Adding that gold effect in each of these spreads was definitely super satisfying. You cannot really see the shine as well as I could when I was setting this up, but that gold watercolor is so shiny and so beautiful in the right light, and I definitely wish you could see it as well in this video. But when I was done with the actual painting part so far, I went and made my little grids for my habit trackers. I did not end up like gluing anything on top because I've usually done that in my previous themes. Like I've glued this like little background paper and then the grid on top, but I ended up just drawing it straight to the paper. I honestly don't love that decision, but like I said, I was trying to save some time, and even though this already had taken so much time, I was like, I'm gonna simplify at least one step step of the process and just, you know, draw them straight to the paper, and it will take a little bit less time than if I would, you know, go for all these pieces of paper. So I think that was a fine option. I also made a little drop shadow to all of the boxes, and I also added the same brown craft paper for my headers and then just wrote the headers on top with my Uniball Signo gel pen. And then because I really liked the old book page paper, I also attached a little piece of it on the left bottom side of the spread. And originally, as you can see, I kind of drew the grid on top of that, but in the end, I actually ended up just cutting that piece of this paper out so it would look a little bit better. It just looks a little bit too crowded and like there's too much going on, so I think that was a better option. As my header, I again used the same stamps. They have definitely been my favorite thing to include in my setups lately. I'm sorry if you would like to see some hand lettering. I think using this has made me feel much more confident in making my headers, and I know that they always turn out good. I don't care if my stamped headers are a little bit crooked. At least I think it looks always better than, you know, my failed hand lettering or something like that, and I think it's much faster, so I always like doing that. I really love adding envelopes to my setups. I don't always have the energy for making them because I always make them myself, but for this setup I decided that I would include one on the right side of the spread because I needed a space for my playlist, and this was kind of the best idea that came to my mind where it would still look really interesting. So yeah, I made the little envelope with the craft paper that I used, and then I also made these little borders for that as well, because it was, you know, everything kind of looked like it was all just a little blob together, so I ended up drawing those little folds on top with my white gel pen. When I was done with that, I still ended up just adding that little flower and the little daisy on the right side of the spread. By the way, I'm sorry my hair is in the way a lot with this painting process. I noticed that I was just like, you know, having my hair in the frame. Sorry about that. But yeah, I was just painting that little flower here in the side. I think it kind of worked perfectly for the spread, and I'm actually super happy that I ended up including it here because I think it definitely made this look much more balanced and like there wasn't this awkward empty space in the corner. And yeah. Then I of course needed to add the songs to my playlist, so I took this white paper inside my envelope and just stamped the word playlist on top, and then I added the songs that I've been listening to. I decided to go for this little washi tape where I cut out these little squares. They're definitely not symmetrical at all, but I don't really care about that right now. Then I also just, you know, wrote the songs with my Uniball Signo gel pen. I've been listening to a lot of songs that remind me of spring lately. It's not quite spring yet. I mean, right now that I'm recording this voiceover, it's like we're in the cusp of spring. I feel like we actually just had snow yesterday, which is not very spring-like. I mean, it actually is here in Finland, but you know, maybe not the best spring-like weather. But yeah, we've definitely had these days of warm sunlight, which feels amazing. So I'm really looking forward to winter turning into spring. But next we are setting up my content planning spread, and for this I made the same kind of grid craft paper piece that I did for my calendar spread. It's the exact same, and then I just glued it on top of this old book page and added the days of the week and the dates as well. So I mainly use my content planning spread for, you know, figuring out what I want to post and which days. And I also now have included a little space in that where I can plan my YouTube videos. And especially now that I feel like I have a lot of videos to post in April, I definitely needed this spread, and I'm happy that I ended up including it because I also really enjoyed using it in March. So on the left page, I just wanted to add this little border with the craft paper just so that the page would look a little bit more interesting. I also stamped the word content planner on the left side, and then underneath that I added these little sections for each video. And I just made these little dots with a blue paint, and then I added the numbers on top, you know, from 1 to 5, so there's space for 5 videos that I can plan in the spread. Off camera before this I also painted a little flower on the left side, but since I had already painted it twice in this video in the same exact way, I decided to not show it in this video, so you see me setting up this spread and do something different. And as a last detail, I also added those little shiny, sparkly things on the page with my metallic watercolors, and that was it. It was a super easy process to do, and I also really love the minimalistic look, and I cannot wait to start using it. But my next spread is even more simple and minimalistic because it's my goals and my monthly summary page that I've done many times by now. I did actually end up changing it last month because I included my memories and my goals and summary page together, which led me to have much less space for this. So I decided to go back to my usual way and do it all in one spread and have, you know, one page for goals and one page for the monthly summary at the end of the month. So first I just added the same craft paper as kind of like the backdrop for each page, and then I added this white paper on top where I can write all of my goals and things like that. And then I also added this little header box on top of that where I stamped all of the headers for each box. So on the left side I have my goals and my first steps, so I can, you know, write my things down that I want to do in order to achieve my goals, and on the right side I have my summary and my what did I have as the header, best things or something like that. I don't see it now. So yeah, I think I'm just gonna write my best memories of the month there so I can, you know, focus on the good things. And because I really liked that old book page, I also added it to both of the corners, and that's going to be it. But onto my last set of spreads, because we're working on my Dutch store weeklies, but I'm also including my memories page here as well. This is a great way of doing your weeklies if you want to save a little bit of time. As you can see, I also cut the, you know, the bottom of each page off camera. I actually ended up making a different layout than usually. I mean, it's the completely same one but kind of flipped. So usually the upper side is the side of the spread, which is just kind of always the same, and then the flips are on the bottom side, but this time I decided to do it differently and I actually really like it this way. So yeah, I'm excited to use this weekly now that it looks a little bit different. And I have to say, I've loved my weeklies, but I always just feel like they're the last spread that I'm doing in these videos, and they're kind of more rushed and I don't really focus on making them pretty as much. So this time I also wanted to add a couple of different things in my weeklies than just the base things I usually do. So as you can see, I added that little craft paper to the edge of each of those Dutch door flaps and on the tabs as well. I also make the tabs so that each week has kind of like a different tab header, so I can just flip them easily if I want to. And I also added the same paper to those tabs, and I really like how that turned out, and I really enjoyed spending more time on these weeklies than normally. Like I said, they're usually the last spread that I just want to get done pretty fast, so it was nice to, you know, have that energy to set it up in a more interesting way. And I feel like I might be more interested in, you know, journaling each day this month as well, now that I've clearly spent a little bit more time on making this spread pretty. I actually didn't really journal in March at all. It wasn't because I was uninterested in my bullet journal or my theme. It was actually more about the fact that I was painting almost every day in March. I've been having this goal of finishing my sketchbook for a long time, but now I've really decided that I want to get it done this month. So I've been just painting and painting, and I've never really had the energy or the time or, you know, interest in journaling that much. So my bullet journal has definitely been, you know, not in much use in March. I'm really excited to get back into it in April, when I do know that I will have more to track and plan and things like that. So yeah, I'm excited to use these weeklies. I have to say, it's probably one of my my favorite set of weeklies that I've done in a long time, and overall like this theme, even though it's outside my comfort zone in a way and a different style from my usual style, I have to say this is definitely one of my favorite themes that I've done in a long time. I'm not a huge fan of blues, but for some reason for this it just works really well. As you can see, while I was rambling on about every single other thing than this painting process, I was painting the bottom side of the spread where I painted a couple of butterflies and also a daisy. I really sped up the footage a lot because I've been painting the same things over and over again, but I was definitely struggling with this video being super long again. I don't know why I made it super long, but I just had so much footage, which I did not realize that I would have because I thought again that this would be a much more simpler theme, but it definitely was not, but it's okay. After I was done with the paintings itself and the sparkle effect, I added a small calendar on the bottom of the spread, and I also added a little header for April. Then I also wanted to make the sides of the spread a little bit more interesting because of course when you have those tabs you can see kind of the page underneath, so I wanted to add that old book page on both of those sides of my spread, and I think it was a great idea. I think it looks really nice and interesting, and again makes the spread look much more fun and like there's more going on, you know. I also wrote the weekly headers for each of these tabs, and then I added the header for notes in the lower section of the spread. And this is just a section where I can add any to-do things or notes throughout the month where I don't have a specific week that those things have to get done. It's great to have that little section just for some random little things that I need to write down. And then we are quickly just doing the last spread in this bunch of Dutch doors because I just quickly added a page for my memories. I stamped the word memories in as the header, and then I added just a little washi tape as a decoration to the side. And after a long time planning, we will finally do the last detail in this whole setup, which is adding my task list for the first weekly. So I just stamped the word tasks on the upper right side of the spread, and then I added my days below that where I can add my tasks for the whole week. But yeah, that is it. I really hope you enjoyed this long setup process for my April theme, and I really hope you like the theme itself and this video. But I really hope you have a great month ahead of you, and please tell me your April theme in the comments if you chose one for the next month. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, don't forget to subscribe to my channel, leave a thumbs up, and leave the perfect butterfly emoji down in the comments as well so I know you watched until the end. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye bye!